All right, so I'm gonna try and give you some clues on these questions here. So the first one is regarding lecture number 1 on page 30. And if you switch over to that one, not this. I think I already uploaded the lecture for tomorrow online. So if we go to lecture number 1, now on page 30, and we are right here, so it says that the international offer typically is 90% of the IPO. And this student is asking, does institutional means international in this context? Is it? It doesn't mention institutional anywhere here. Okay. Well, I can tell you it is, because retail, I mean, retail is retail, mums and dads, uncles and aunties, okay? And if it is not retail, then it has to be institutional. I guess the understanding here is, if it's institutional, well, yes, it can be a local institution. It can be an international hedge fund, or Fidelity, State Street in Boston. But we don't really care. So retail kind of takes on a local flair. If you are retail, then probably you are local, although you don't have to be. Okay, but retail, and then retail versus institutional is kind of like local versus international. You can look at it that way. Okay, so the two terms in practice, I guess, are kind of interchangeable. Okay, these are not definitions, so don't worry about it too much. Okay. Now, can you please explain more about the general offer? Because Professor K, because Professor K only explained what will trigger the offer. I would like to learn more about the practical consequences of it. Well, I think we discussed that previously, but it's worth repeating. Now, you all know, so the key concepts in all the, is, and I've written them down here, okay? Now, the things that you should keep in mind, first of all, is the concept of offer and acceptance, which is, I guess, the cornerstone of, is the foundation of contract law, okay? And the second thing to think about is the takeover code. And then we can talk about the general offer. Now, all these things are actually related, and they are topics around the same issue, which is, when somebody looks like they want to take over a company, they have large amounts of money, and they're buying up huge chunks of a certain corporation. What kind of motion does it set off, or what regulations are in place when someone tries to do that? Okay, now, I guess the way to think about this is, you can start with the end in mind. Okay, that might be an easier way. Instead of just explaining all that stuff, start with the end in mind. Now, what do I mean the end in mind? So when someone with a lot of money starts buying, a big part of a company. So let's say they own 25% and they buy another 10% of that, so they go up to 35, okay? Now I know you are quite familiar with that, but I come to this from a different angle, okay? The idea is you don't want guys all over the market to keep doing that every other day, okay? Unless they are serious in wanting to take over a company, okay? Because if you don't do that, then maybe one day I buy 10% and then the price goes to the ceiling, and then the next day I sell 17. The day after I buy 25, okay? Then markets will just collapse. So this takeover code really is to, I guess, try to protect shareholders and to prevent, big accounts trying to sort of push prices around by creating rumors or pretending that they want to buy a company when really they actually don't, okay? And then driving the price up for a big profit. It's trying to prevent all that. Now, how does it do that? It does it simply by saying that if you own a certain amount, let's say 25%, it doesn't really matter. If you own a certain amount of a company and you cross the line, that's going to trigger the takeover code. Be prepared. If you go from 25 to, let's say, 32, be prepared. There is a chance that you have to buy the other 68%. And if those people want to sell to you, you don't have a choice. You cannot say no. Okay? Now that's what a general offer actually means. It's an offer and it's a general one applicable to every single one of these 68%. Okay? And you have to buy, I think, at the the highest price in the recent 6 months or something. Okay, that's just a technical detail. Okay, but you have to buy. You have to buy likely at quite a high price, or an inflated price, or a higher price, and you have to buy a lot. Okay, so for example, if a company was worth $100 billion. Well, 100 billion is a lot of money. Let's say a company was worth $10 billion. And no, I like the number 100. So 100 billion, it's easier anyway. So let's say you currently own 25%, and you decide to buy another 7%. So you need $7 billion to take you from here to here. Okay. Now the thing is, this is likely to drive the market crazy, and there will be all kinds of rumors and say, oh, this guy is trying to buy up this company, and you just spent $7 billion. Now, the consequence of that is, if all these people want to sell to you, you better make sure you have $68 billion in your account. That is what the general offer means. Okay. Do you know what offer? The word offer in law, there is a special meaning. So in contract law, there is this thing called offer and acceptance. I'll tell you what it means. Okay? The simplest example I can think of is if a company makes you a job offer. Now, that's an offer. Okay. Now there are normally a number of things. So first of all, there is a period. So maybe for 2 weeks, the offer is valid or the offer is effective. Okay. So during that 2 weeks, you can choose at any time, if you want, to accept it. Now, if you accept the offer, the other party cannot say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I changed my mind." Okay, they can't do that. Okay, that's what an offer means. An offer is out there for you to take or leave. Okay, but if you take it, then I have to honor it. So that is why this 68% that I was telling you, this is not a joke. If all those people want to sell to you, you have to buy it. Okay, this morning somebody was asking me, what if you don't buy? You say, "I'm sorry, I don't want to buy." Well, they can sue you. They take you to court. They force you to buy. And if you don't have the money, probably you have to declare bankruptcy. Okay, so in other words, there are serious consequences when you trigger a general offer. So you better be prepared. In other words, you better take it seriously. If you start buying large chunk of shares, don't think you can just drive up the prices and then sell and make a profit. Okay, so in a way, it's a kind of protection mechanism, especially for minority shareholders. Is everyone okay with that? Yeah. So I explained to you. So the takeover code is exactly that. Okay, it's is a mandatory series of actions that somebody would need to take if they buy a lot of a certain company. In other words, they need to make a general offer. And I explained to you why just now. Okay. So I hope that is helpful. Okay. Everyone is okay? All right, so that is question number 2. Okay. Now, question number 3, lecture 2, page 10, 12. The two tables need further explanation. What is page 10 and page 12 of lecture 2? Well, let's check it out. So first of all, this is page 8. So page 8 gives you the details on different types of placing. Okay? And page 10, so these are what we call execution alternatives. And page 12 are types of placing. Okay, now these tables might look a bit confusing. All right. So first of all, the 3 different types of placings here actually correspond to these 3 non-preemptive types. Now, you're wondering, why don't we care about rights issue and open offer? Well, they are so simple. They are preemptive. So this means, you know what preemptive means? Does everyone know what preemptive means? You all know what that means? Start again. So a preemptive follow-on offering is when every single shareholder of the company will be contacted, and they will be allowed, if they want to, They will be allowed to purchase a proportional amount of shares so that their ownership will not be diluted. Okay, that's what preemptive. Now, non-preemptive is the opposite. Non-preemptive is you don't go to every shareholder. Okay, so these are the different types. Okay, now the way you can read page 8 together with, so first of all, page 12. So like I said, whoops, gone past that. So page 12, so these different scenarios simply correspond to the three different types of non-preemptive placing. Okay? So you practically can take these boxes, if you really want. You can imagine you can take these boxes and you can actually put them next door here if you want to. Okay, they are just describing what happens in different types of non-preemptive placements. Okay, now how does that interact with page 10? That is the question. You have block trade, accelerated book build, and fully marketed offering. Now, the way you can read this is simply this, all right? So you can have a cash placement, you can have vendor placing, so these are and you can have placement and top up. Now, these are the different types of non-preemptive offerings, as I said, and these are execution techniques up on top. So you can do a cash placing with a block trade. You can do a cash placing with accelerated book building, or you can do a cash placing as a fully marketed offer. So you end up, you have a matrix with nine slots in them, potentially 9 combinations, although I would say that not all of them will apply. Okay. Is that okay with everyone? Now, you might wonder, well, Sam, what is the difference between a block trade and an accelerated book build and a fully marketed offer? I'll tell you what is different, okay? Well, let's take the two extremes on the left and on the right. Actually, do you know the differences? Does anyone know? I'm dying to give these out. I don't so many. How about, well, you're welcome to answer this question. Is Xi here? Or Xi? No, Xi. Hello? Yeah, do you know the difference between these? It's okay if you don't. If you don't, just tell me you don't. You don't know the difference, okay? Now, these are just English words, okay? Fully marketed offer, block trade. I tell you what makes them different, okay? The difference is mostly in the timing and the number of involved parties, and quite often the amount of money involved. In other words, when you are talking of big amounts, lots of investors everywhere, you might launch a roadshow. It's going to take longer. Okay? So that would be the one on the left, on the right-hand side. A block trade normally is a lot faster. So the number of parties will be limited. You might think, well, how many? Well, it depends. Are you talking to investors with a lot of cash? Take the AIA trade, for example. Okay, so that was a block trade, but there were huge sums involved. Okay, but normally a block trade will not involve a lot of investors. Okay, now how much money would they bring? Well, it depends from case to case, but one thing you can be sure, block trades do not involve a lot of parties, and it's normally quite fast. Okay. Now, accelerated book build is kind of in the middle. Okay, in terms of the time it takes and the number of people it might involve. I mean, you can see that. Okay, so if you are confused about page 10 and then page 8 before and page 12 after, okay, just remember that you can put these boxes next door to this one here. You can add the two columns first of all, okay, and then when it comes to this one, so cash placing and vendor placing and top up, they are different types of placings, whereas block trade and accelerated book build and fully marketed offering are different execution techniques. Okay, is everyone okay with that? So make sure you can understand that. Okay, so you have potentially 9 different combinations. All right. Now that is answering. Okay. That's answering question 2. So we've done question 1. We've done question 2. We've done question 3. We did that just now. Okay. Placing top-up subscription, the same concept. Well, I think that's not the right question to ask. Okay, now if you look at the notes, so here you can either, all right, when your company is already a public one and you want to sell more shares, there are 3 ways to do it. Okay, and you see that either you issue some new shares. Now these will be primary shares, by the way. Okay, so you issue new shares, or the major shareholder sells a part of their holdings. Okay. Alternatively, so placing and top up, there are actually 2 steps. So first, the major shareholder will sell, and then they will top up again when new shares are issued to them. Okay, so placing and top up, actually the whole thing is one type of transaction. So you can't say placing and top up, the same thing. No, they are 2 steps that you take to facilitate a follow-on offer where secondary shares are sold to investors first, and then the major shareholder will, I guess replenish is the right word, probably, okay, will replenish by getting the shares back from the company. Okay? Is everyone okay with that? Yeah? So that is question 4. Okay? Now, preemptive and rights offering, are they the same? Or what is the relation between them? I think this, again, refers to this page. Now, all I can say is, and we talked about this 15 minutes ago, so a preemptive placement is when you contact every single shareholder in the company and you offer them a chance to buy more shares on a proportional basis. Okay, there are two types. There's a rights issue where you can trade your rights, and there's open offer where you don't. Okay, this one is far more common. So there are two types of preemptive offers, basically. So this question is preemptive and rights offer, are they the same? No, they're not the same. I would say rights offer is one type of preemptive placement. The other type being an open offer. All right. Can you please explain jargon for us? What jargon? Do you want me to explain any jargon for you? No, it's okay. If there is any jargon that anyone? Feel free to, that's what I'm here for, okay? I'm like your walking dictionary. Although you should spend time yourself trying to figure out these things also. Okay, I think I've answered all these questions. Now, in fact, if you look at the notes that I have prepared for this week, okay,